when I was a little girl, very young, up until primary school, so when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, my family would come up to Cape Cod in our country, which is a part of Massachusetts that sticks out into the water. There's lots of beaches, water, the ocean. My grandparents, my mother's side grandparents, lived here on Cape Cod, sort of where I live now. And I had been born and raised in Maryland, but when I retired, I finally did retire up here to Cape Cod because of those childhood memories with my grandfather. So my granddad had a rowboat, and he would take me out when I was a little girl. My grandma would make us sandwiches, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and my granddad would row the boat out into the bay, not the ocean, but a bay about a mile or two long, like the one I live on now. And he would teach me how to row. And for anybody who's rowed when they're young, you get into a rowboat, you have an oar in each hand. And when you're really little, first of all, the oars are heavy. Second of all, one oar always hits the water before the other, and then your boat goes the wrong way, and you just like wonder, am I ever going to get this little rowboat to go in a straight line? Because there's so many things that I'm just, I can't do this. And so my granddad would show me how to balance the oars and how to get my timing down and be patient. And he was very calm, cool, and collected. So he was a wise man. My granddad was a really wise man, which is interesting to say because he didn't have global travel experience or anything, but he was older, and I really think there's something to do with wisdom that you just don't have as a young person. There is wisdom, it takes time, over a lifetime. So my granddad was a wise man in his own way. And wisdom isn't something you can just put in a jar and sell. My granddad had his own form of wisdom, and that was knowing how to teach a young girl, how to pass it on to a young girl to help her have an experience on the water where I could eventually dominate those oars and I could row. And then once we rowed out into the middle of the bay, we could eat our sandwich. I could dive down and swim and find clams and have a great time. And it was all because I learned how to row out into the water and to do something hard and get there and then have the experience, the fun of being there. But yeah, my granddad taught me that. He taught me the perseverance, that there's a reward once you learn something. He taught me to love the water because otherwise I wouldn't have had a connection with the water and wouldn't have thought about the Naval Academy, the Coast Guard Academy. And that little experience as a girl that my grandfather gave me set the course for my entire life. So what I would say is, for anybody out there who's watching right now, there's somebody in your life who's younger than you, who's more inexperienced than you, who's less capable than you, that you can guide and mentor and pass on your wisdom. You might not have a whole lot of wisdom, but you have got more than they do in different ways. So I would challenge people to find a way to pass on something to somebody else who needs it, either at work or at home, a young little girl like me or an older person that needs some encouragement. So there's all kinds of ways you can pass your wisdom along, and you never know what kind of an impact it's going to make. And my granddad taking me out on the ocean, on the water when I was young, set the course for my entire rest of my life. And he would never know that he had made that impact on me because he ended up dying before I graduated from the Coast Guard Academy. So he never knew the impact he made. And so that's another thing about this delayed gratification. A lot of the things you do today, you're not going to ever see the benefits from, but you have to look inward and do what's right, do the right thing, and understand that a lot of what you're doing is planting seeds for the future. And that's what it's all about, is giving back the wisdom. And it doesn't mean you have to reap benefits from it. You need to learn to be selfless, and that's where that self-reflection comes in. My time in the pool, the time I've spent on sailboats, reflecting back on who I am. And then at this older age of life, that's why I wrote the book, is to give back the leadership lessons and maybe some of the wisdom that I garnered during this 40 years serving in uniform.